Hello everybody, and welcome for another edition of On the Homefront, our weekly community affairs magazine here on CTV 14. My name is John Murphy, your host for this series, and I'm very happy to be here with you once again sharing some time. Our program this week is in two segments, and for the second half we're going to focus on energy conservation. And for the first half we're going to talk about insurance, which has come up quite a bit recently with all the storms last year and all the concerns about the future environment changes. We have Gerard O'Sullivan with us today. He's the Consumer Affairs Program Director for the Connecticut Insurance Department. And he's been there for 6 years, and for many years before then he also worked in the industry, and he's here to work more with the public now on helping you resolve issues of your insurance, your relationship with your companies, how to resolve claims, and how to be a better consumer. So thank you very much for being here with us today, Gerard.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Now, can you give us a brief overview of the areas of insurance that you work with in the department, and maybe some of the major challenges you see people facing throughout the year?
Sure. What we try to do at the insurance department, and we are in charge of all insurance. There are some policies, types of policies that we don't have direct jurisdiction on, but if that's the case, we can get the person into the right hands. What we do in the Consumer Affairs unit for the insurance department is handle complaints against insurance companies, and even more importantly is give information to consumers about insurance.
Yeah. And what are some of the I know last year we had those storms. I guess you've been very busy with those issues. But what are some of the major areas that people find themselves getting into trouble over?
Well, we have our Consumer Affairs unit divided into three distinct groups. The first is accident and health, and for the most part they handle health insurance.
Right.
The other is life and annuity, and as you know, those policies are very complicated, so we have people who are dedicated to understanding that and helping people out with that. Our largest unit is the property and casualty unit, which handles auto insurance, homeowners insurance, commercial insurance, pet insurance, pretty much anything related to insurance. We even have some jurisdiction over extended warranties. So people can pretty much call us on anything. If it's not something that we have jurisdiction over, we know who to get you to, who can help you out.
Yeah.
Some of the biggest things that we've seen, as you know, with the catastrophes we've had, the winter storms back in January and February of 11, Hurricane or Tropical Storm Irene in August, and then the snowstorm in October. It's been a very, very busy past year.
Indeed. And in each of the areas too, you have to deal with people that don't always understand their policies, or when they shop around they're too quick to make decisions. Are there particular aspects of their coverage that end up in dispute most often the people might think about more carefully before they make a commitment?
I think the biggest thing is that people need to understand their policies before they have a claim. Understand beforehand what's covered, what's not covered. Even if you didn't have claims throughout these three catastrophes, look at your policy and think of things that other people had run into. Damage to trees, tree damage in your yard, anything that could happen, food spoilage, those types of things. Look at your policy and determine if that's covered. If it's not, you may be able to purchase a rider to your policy, or other companies might have different coverages. So you really want to review these things before the incident happens. And we can also help people a lot with the decision of who to buy insurance from. We don't make recommendations, but we have a lot of information on the complaint history of insurance companies. We have publications that rank the health insurance companies based on how many times we find that they've violated a statute or a regulation. The same thing with auto insurance. A lot of times things happen at the point of purchase with an agent, and we keep records about those agents as well. And we always want to make sure that people are buying insurance from licensed agents and licensed companies. If you purchase something from somebody who's not licensed, it's a lot harder for us to rectify that situation. So you always want to check with the insurance department and make sure that the agent's licensed and that the company is properly licensed.
I know in the last 6 or 8 months there have been many sad stories about fraud, and people will take advantage of situations. I understand sometimes the elderly are an easy target for these kinds of things, yes. And that's really unfortunate.
And that's something that we try to do specifically, is target our outreach, and we do that quite a bit at the department, is we go out into the public and meet whoever wants us to come out and to speak, and to give them those things to think about in buying insurance or thinking about what they may need to make sure that they're properly covered. So we'll go out and we'll talk to seniors about all of the things that affect them, life insurance, annuities, things that people are trying to sell to them, and also look at things that may have changed. And that's what we tell people all the time is, on a yearly basis, you need to review these policies and make sure that they're still good for you. Seniors especially, they need to take a look at their auto insurance and look to see, do they still need that collision coverage? Do they need an umbrella on their homeowners and the car? Are there different things in the home that didn't take place before? And we also give people some ideas of what credits they might be eligible for. There's a discount that's required by law on auto insurance for seniors who take a safe driver course. So we try to let people know about those things as well.
And I guess things like keeping your property inventory up to date, people often will forget what they buy along the way, and all of a sudden it might not be listed properly.
Absolutely. That's
right?
What people need to understand when they have a claim, is that it's up to you to prove what your loss is. So if you do have that home inventory, it goes a long way to proving what your loss may have been. And we do have tools on our website that help you to do that inventory. And again, in today's day and age with cell phones and video cameras, all types of things as well, it's very easy to go around and film all those things so you have that documentation in case something happens.
Right. You know, we're speaking with Gerard O'Sullivan, and one of the nice things is that Gerard has been in the private sector, and now he's on the public side, so he's lived in both worlds. So maybe while we have you, we could take advantage of this to kind of walk us through the complaint process. Since you've at times been on both sides of that, how can people better understand if they have a problem, assuming one is there? How does the process work? How long does it take? And how can they best protect their interests and still be fair to the company, which has a point of view that has to be included?
Sure.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we want people to do. The complaint process actually helps the rest of the insurance department to properly regulate the industry. When we get complaints about companies, we don't just stop with that one complaint. If we found that the company is doing something wrong, we say, who else did you do this to? And we make sure that they correct that as well. A couple of years ago, we had one gentleman come in, and it was a health insurance issue, and he wasn't even sure if it was a problem. We looked into it. It turned out that there was a problem with the company's claims payment software. And long story short, over 2,000 people in Connecticut had their claims done incorrectly, and we recovered over $800,000 from just this one complaint from one person who wasn't even positive that there was something wrong. And it didn't even end there. It was other states that this was happening in as well. So it was over $2 million that was recovered for consumers just from one person coming forward and complaining. And we have an issue with people is, you know, they just take for granted that the insurance company knows what they're doing, and they do, but everybody makes mistakes, companies make mistakes, so if you think there might be an issue, send it in to us and we'll take a look at it. And we try to make it as simple as possible for people. Probably the best and quickest way to do it is online on our website at www.ct.gov/CID, and you just go right on there, click on the complaint question button, and then you can fill out the online complaint form or ask a question. For the complaints, we'll write out to the company, we'll get their explanation, and then we'll review the whole thing. The companies are required to respond to us within 10 days, and we try to get back to people as quickly as possible. With the catastrophes that we've had recently, we can't always guarantee how quickly they're going to be done. And sometimes we need to go back because a lot of these times things are very complicated.
Yeah. I was going to ask about the website agency, because many state agencies have wonderful websites that are just loaded with information that would save people a lot of time. You have guides that people can download, and then you have guides to insurance for the home or for automobile. Can you talk more about what's on the website that people could explore to help them do a better job?
Absolutely. And I think probably the biggest thing, and everybody's heard of healthcare reform, it's a full-time job just keeping up with that. And we have an amazing amount of information, and we go through it. There's a lot more than what we put up there, but we put the best and the easiest to understand and the most comprehensive, and we have all that information up there for people if they want to look through it. But there's always somebody at the department that you can call and they can walk you through if you have questions. Because again, we do this as a living. We do this on a full-time basis, and a lot of times it's complicated for us. But having that person that you can call and walk you through a specific issue, that's what we're there for.
Yeah. Well, Gerard mentioned the website, but if you're not a web surfer, there is a phone. People are still human beings, and you can get a phone call if you need that as well. It's an 800 number, 203-3447, 203-3447. You can get information that way as well. Another question for you would be, what other resources can you send people to outside your department that might help them to get more information to make some of the decisions they have to make? I know you're a point of a lot of information coming into you.
Absolutely. We do that all the time. And there's, you know, insurance touches quite a few things. So we don't claim to be the expert on everything. And we work in concert with the banking department, the State of Connecticut Banking Department. We work with the Department of Consumer Protection. We work with the Attorney General's office. A lot of things too, as I mentioned before, we handle all types of insurance, but some are outside of state law. They're federal law. So we'll work with the U.S. Department of Labor, CMS, which is the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services. Right. And there's you know, excellent people who assist people with that as well, like the Center for Medicare Advocacy, which is right here in this area.
That's right. We've had them on the program. They're a great way to help people. They've helped a lot of families.
And we also very much recommend to seniors that they talk to their choices counselors, and they assist them with making the proper choices for health care coverage. Yeah. One of the things that I'd like to mention, though, is kind of a plug for our department. Every year in our complaint handling, we track what's called recoveries, and that's money that the department's efforts have saved for consumers. And last year we saved Connecticut consumers over $4 million. And that's about average of what we do every year. So it really pays for a person to come to us and make sure that the insurance company is doing things properly.
Right. Well, congratulations. $4 million is a huge amount of money, and that's what you call due diligence, yes. I guess. So hats off to you for that good work and your crew. Also, you should know that the insurance department is funded by the industry. How does that work, actually? How are you funded through the insurance industry to provide all this consumer support?
It's based on the premium volumes of the individual companies, and they're charged a certain amount for the budget for the insurance department. Right. But again, we're in no way tied to them. We make sure that they're handling things following Connecticut insurance laws. And again, those books are very large, and there's very specific requirements for what those companies must do. And that's how we handle the complaint process. We look at the law and make sure that they're following that. One thing that people should be aware of as well is that insurance is a contract, and there's requirements even above and beyond paying premiums on the part of a consumer. So you want to make sure that you look at those policies and you understand what the rights and responsibilities of the policyholder are.
Right. And I know insurance companies obviously work in many states, and some of those regulations may vary from state to state, so it can be very difficult for them with good intentions to follow all the different rules.
Absolutely. And that's one of the reasons there is an organization called the National Association of Insurance Commissioners, which is all the insurance commissioners throughout the United States and the territories, to try to you know, come to an agreement and, you know, sort of make things easier across the entire country.
Right. I guess one last thing I want to ask before we wrap up is you have a speakers bureau, and if some organization out there gets together occasionally and would like to have somebody come out to talk about particular topics, how could they learn about the speakers bureau and access those people?
They can call us at the insurance department. We do have a specific phone number for the speakers bureau. It's 860-297-3850. And we can come out and talk on any particular topic you want, or we can just give a presentation on basic insurance information. And we do have a lot of information on that through the NAIC and things that we've come up with as well. Always check our website. We try to have topical information up there. A lot of times during the catastrophes that we've had, other agencies were pointing people towards our website with all of the great information we had on there on things to be aware of, how to submit claims, just things that you need to be aware of for what's going on now.
It's all just a click and a link away, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, once again, to access all this information from the Connecticut Insurance Department, you can go to ct.gov/CID, or you can call 800-203-3447. And maybe one last time, Gerard, the phone number for the Speakers Bureau
is 860-297-3850.
Well, I thank you very much for being here today, and we've agreed to have them on twice a year. There's so much going on that we'll try to have them back again in the late summer or fall to do a kind of a pre-winter preview. But thanks again for being here.
Thank you very much.
Great to have you. Thank you.
It's my pleasure.
Okay, we're right at the halfway point of today's edition of On the Homefront. We'll be right back after this message talking about energy conservation. Don't go away.